Welcome everyone to our next episode of 10 Minutes With. I am so excited to have our guest this week. Christina Cathrati is the school social worker in Andover. She also has the great pleasure of officing a few doors down from me. So Christina, welcome.
Yes. It's such a thrill to be next to you, Mr. Feigum.
Yeah. Do you want to just give us a couple minutes of your background, your title, tell us about yourself, and then we'll get rolling with our questions.
Yes, sounds good. So I'm the school social worker, like Mr. Feigum said. I've been here, this is my 5th year already, which is kind of crazy how time has flown by. I started kind of my social work interest, I guess you could say, back when I was little. I've always actually wanted to be a teacher when I was small. My parents are both teachers. They taught 3rd and 4th and 5th grade. And I always knew I wanted to work in a school. And at the time I wanted to be a teacher. And then as time went on, I started going, I'm trying to remember now when it was. I had one of my friends who is a social worker in the district, or was a social worker in the district, and she is now since retired. She's actually one of my parents' friends. And she was kind of talking to me about social work and kind of what social workers do and kind of how they're the link between school and family and students, and kind of just talked about school social work. And I'm like, that actually seems kind of like what I want to do. So when I was in college at the time, I decided to major in social work after I did my generals. And then after that, after I was done with my 4-year degree, I went on to work for a while. I worked at Jefferson Elementary in Blaine. And then I think it was probably 3-ish years after that. It was back in 2006. I went to get my master's at St. Thomas, St. Kate's. And then I continued to work at Jefferson for 10 years. And then I think it was maybe at the end of my Jefferson kind of career over there, I went to get my child and adolescent mental health certificate at Bethel University. And that was a year program. And then after that, after I worked at Jefferson Elementary for a while, I worked at Crooked Lake for 4 years. And then I did a split position at Anoka High School and Andover High School for a year. And then now I'm at Andover. So that's kind of my my path to how I got to be over here. And I don't know if this is maybe the time I can maybe mention this too, but part of my passion for social work has really come not only from my parents, from being educators and wanting to work in a school, but also just from my own personal mental health, I guess, journey. You could maybe use that word, journey.
Sure. Yeah.
I've had a lot of, I would say, school anxiety when I was younger. Very shy, very quiet, didn't really say a lot, and I kept a lot of my feelings inside, and I didn't really have a support person at my school to really talk to. I talked to my parents, but not, it's kind of hard sometimes to really open up completely. And so now that I'm older, I wish I would have had a person like me, or a person like a counselor, just someone that I could have gone to, even like a teacher that would have reached out to me.
Sure.
It would have made my life a lot easier. And so I think that's part of my personal passion, is I want to be able to help support kids and provide resources and things that might help better their future and better themselves. So that's a little bit of kind of a little tidbit about a little personal passion too.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So, there was so much great stuff right there. So I want to just break it down a little bit. First of all, from my world, just getting to see a school social worker like yourself kind of hit the ground running and really be there for kids has really opened up my eyes to the importance of that role in a school. And I know those things sometimes maybe go off the radar for kids that don't know that you're in the building. So I just wanted to make sure to have you on and just kind of advocate for the great things that you're doing, and especially now with COVID and all of these things, the importance of talking to people when you need it. So maybe that's my long-winded way of saying thank you. And then other side now,
I like being next to you, Feigum.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then backing up a little bit now to the career side of it, one of the things that I get when students come in and want to talk through social work, or like they want to go into the therapy world or something, like there's so many licensing and sort of different paths once you start. So if you had to like break that down? Like step one, social work degree, right? Like what's the next step to get to a job like yours?
Sure. So after I did my 4-year degree, I got my bachelor's in social work, and
And where
from
did you
there
go?
I went to St. Ben's, St.
Okay.
John's St. Ben's. And then after that, what you do is you take a test, and they kind of, it's just a test that kind of goes over all your knowledge about what you've learned about. And if you pass it, you can apply for your licensed social worker. And you need it's called an LSW. And you need your LSW to really have a social work job kind of anywhere. And the nice thing about social workers, you can kind of work in a lot of different settings. But in a school setting, most districts require an LICSW. So I'll kind of get to how I got to that part. But so after you do your LSW, then you can work in kind of generalist practice. And that kind of means like you can't be a therapist, but you can just work in more of like, you can work in group homes, you can work in nursing homes usually. Some schools still take LSW licensure. You can work in day treatment programs, residential treatment programs, those kind of pieces.
Yep.
So then I decided to go get my master's. And the nice thing about having a social work degree already was I didn't have to go through all those general social work classes when I first went to college. I kind of had a head start. And so then I was able to get into my core kind of clinical classes right away. So St. Thomas St. Kate's has a clinical focus. So I was able to go there. And then after I graduated, I took it's called your LGSW exam, and that's a licensed graduate social work exam. And if you pass that, then you get your LGSW, and then you have to do 2 years of supervision with another person who has and this kind of gets confusing, but who has their LICSW, a licensed independent clinical social worker. So once I did my 2 years of supervision, then I could take my next test to get my LICSW. So I passed that. And so now I have my LICSW. And basically what that means is I could practice kind of anywhere. So I could be in a school, I can be in a hospital. I could do therapy if I wanted to, those kind of things. So
I guess if I'm a high school student and I'm watching this and I'm interested in a school social work position or working in a social work setting, step one, social work 4-year degree. Yep. Then from there, I like to call it a laddered career. Like you can add to your career possibilities, kind of like a nursing outcome, based on the type of licensing that you have. So start at the very basic, like all of that can be overwhelming. Slow down, go step by step, and then expand as your interests grow. Am I okay in saying that?
Yep. I think it's an awesome profession to get into because you can start at that social work LSW, kind of that first licensure, and you can work and practice and get experience. And and if you want, if and sometimes the income is not quite as high if you're an LSW, but the nice thing is it's still, you can still live off of it. It's still a livable income. But if you're looking for additional, like a school setting, for example, if they do require that LICSW, or even if you're wanting to be in another, like a therapist, you can always go back to school and do that. But it's something you could, you can work. Like for me, I worked as an LSW. I was able to pay my bills. I was able to survive and do fine as I went to school. So it's kind of nice because you can work and then you can also go to school.
Sure. So that's great. I think as students kind of start looking at these type of career paths, and I say these like health related, mental health related, I think they're going to find that a lot, right? Get step one, go to work, come back. Get step two, go to work, come back. So it's great to hear that, you were able to work during that time and still navigate your career path and end up with your, the position that you were after. So that's awesome. Let's transition to the next piece here. So we just said a ton, right? Like lots of information. If you had to give a 30-second, you're in an elevator with someone that says you're a school social worker and you have to just tell them what you do, right? 30 seconds, what would you say?
Okay, so I might need just maybe 45 seconds.
Okay.
I'll just read it kind of fast, but I like this little quote thing from the NASW, which is kind of our board of social work. Or I shouldn't say it's our board of social work. It's our National Association of Social Workers. So it's kind of this association that we are a part of. So social work is, or a social worker is, I am a basic agent for positive change, a client advocating, injustice fighting, therapy providing, systems testing, family preserving, social conscious raising, data collecting, rights protecting, child defending, staff developing, human assisting, strengths focused, social rights championing, ego lending, and crisis intervening teacher, facilitator, listener, encourager, supporter, and leader with professionalism, integrity, concern, empathy, values, love, trust, honesty, and warmth. Hey, that was actually 30 seconds.
Wow, that was really good though. I'm glad that you read that. Thank you for sharing it. Super powerful, and I mean, very descriptive of everything that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything, if you're thinking now back, like to talking to high school kids, right? Are there things that those types kids could be doing now that might help them as they hope to transition or hope to get to a position like yours?
Sure. I think the biggest thing that helped me, and this is going to be hard because of COVID, of course, but I did a lot of volunteering. So when I was in high school as much as I could, but especially in my college, career, I got involved in high school. And I think just like student council, kind of those leadership kind of groups, any kind of group really in high school can get you prepared for a social work job, because it's a lot of group work. It's a lot of communication with people, a lot of people skills you learn, but volunteering. So just volunteering at different agencies like food shelves, or, I volunteered at a domestic violence shelter. I worked in Kid Stop. So sometimes it's kind of nice to get those kind of childcare jobs like the YMCA or Kid Stop, which is like our Adventures Plus program in our district. So any kind of job where you're working with people or kids. I would say, I'm trying to think of what else was helpful.
I mean, those are some really good things, like getting involved, joining groups, taking leadership roles, all of those things I think are perfect. So last couple ones here before we jump into our fun rapid fire ones here.
Awesome.
This might be really hard just knowing you a little bit, but like job highlights or things that maybe stand out to you that I know there's certain things that you can't share, but things that you would be willing to just highlight for our viewers.
Sure. I think my most exciting and wonderful part of my job is working with you, the kids. I love working with students. And I love working with their families. I would say that kind of that people, person to person, just communication and support is the best part of my job for sure. And I also have, and I'm going to put a little plug in here for our mental health awareness club that we started last year. I have a group of students who really initiated this idea of this club. And so we are slowly growing, but we would love to have more people join us. And so this has been another highlight of my job. I just met with them on Monday, and we're just trying to come up with some kind of unique ways to get the word out. We meet Mondays from 2:30 to 3:15. Usually we get done about 3. And it's all Google Meets. And so if you're interested, send me an email or get a hold of me. But that is also a huge highlight of my job, because I feel like I'm being proactive. Sure. It's a positive way of giving back. Honestly, sometimes I hear a lot of really hard things. And so just having kind of a different perspective, a different kind of positiveness, if that's even a word, to my job is really helpful. And I also really love working with my team. I love being in a high school because it's such a team approach. That's another highlight of my job, I would say. I don't feel like I'm alone.
Sure. That's all great things. Anything we missed? Anything on the social work world? Anything that you want to maybe make sure that to address? Or, I mean, we hit a lot, so, don't feel like you have to, but lots of great information. So any last parts of that before I drill you with our rapid fire ones?
Yeah. So, the only thing that sticks out to me is when I was going into social work, I thought, you know what? I'm going to change the world.
Yeah.
I'm going to change people and I'm going to change the world. Like I'm going to help and do whatever I can. And what I've learned through my practice and just through my education is that I'm not in charge of changing like people. Like what I do is I provide that space and that knowledge and even that that guidance to help people make changes or make difference for themselves. So it's really about empowering people, not changing people. It's really about meeting people where they're at and listening to them and not judging them, then putting my values and my beliefs onto them. It's really about meeting them where they're at. And so I think that was the biggest lesson that I've learned is that that's not my job to change people. It's my job to be there for them and help them find what they need in their lives to be happy and successful. So that was a huge learning for me as I've gone through this.
Yeah, role. And I bet that's not, that doesn't happen immediately, right? Like you have to, it comes to you, right? So
yes, definitely.
All right, rapid fire.
All right,
okay?
I'm ready
for this.
I'm ready.
These are just fun. We like to end our episodes with things like these. I was gonna throw in there your favorite office, co-office person, but I won't put you on the spot. Or your favorite school counselor. I won't ask you those questions because we already know that it's me. But we'll leave it at the ones I prepared for you. So, okay. Real quick, cookies or cake?
Oh, that's a hard one. I would say cookies.
Good call. Cat or dog?
Definitely a dog.
Pop, rock, country, or other type of music?
I can't decide. I would say I like all of them.
Easy way out. Pancakes or waffles?
Definitely waffles with strawberries and whipped cream.
Good for you. Hot chocolate or coffee?
Oh, hot chocolate. I cannot stand coffee. Ugh.
Morning or evening?
Oh my gosh. Totally evening. Mornings. Yeah, mornings. We'll just leave it at that.
Last one. Would you rather text message or call?
That's another hard one. I like talking on the phone, but I think texting is good too. So I can't choose. That's a tough one.
I told you this wasn't going to be easy.
I know. Hard questions.
Christina Catharati, school social worker at Andover High School. Thank you for the time. Any last advice that you wanted to give to our students, our families before we sign off?
Sure. I think what I would just like to say is thank you for being here. Thank you for watching this. Thank you for being a part of our school community. This is such a hard time in our world right now. And I know we all know that, but I just think it is just so hard. And so I would encourage you, whether you're a student, whether you're an adult, whoever you are, I would encourage you to reach out for support and share how you're feeling. Find community somehow, even though we have to social distance, like figure out ways to connect with people because you're not alone. And I'm all about getting support. It's something I wish I would have done when I was little and even in high school and college. I wish I would have reached out and shared more about what was on my mind. So that would be my kind of last words of wisdom, maybe.
Great final thoughts. Thank you again for the time. Knowing you, I knew we were going to have a hard time with 10 minutes. I might have to change the episode title a little bit here, but honestly, it was great stuff. So super thankful for your time and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.